Yo, yo, welcome to episode 18. This is episode 1 for Bro versus Science, though. So it'll be like a new segment of the podcast. We're launching it right now. This is the announcement. So we have Kyle Baxter here. Before I'll let him introduce himself, but a couple things I'll say that I have in my experience. You're one of the coolest guys in terms of, not coolest guys, say coolest guys. That's a good explanation. That is able to zoom out in a nice way. Like if someone's really like in training, for example, obviously that's my biggest experience, but like someone's like, hey bro, like my this part hurts and it's like causing a lot of discomfort. Instead of you giving like a long answer, you kind of tell the person to zoom out and make the individual think a little bit, which leads to them learning how to do the thing, which I learned the most, especially like on those prescript labs that I was constantly on. And I think my coaching experience with you, it's like, yo, like just make me think. And it's like the answers are not that long, but they make you think because it's more like zooming out instead of like, oh, it's hurting right now. You kind of zoom out and you look at the bigger picture, which helps quite a bit more than you think. So thanks for that. And I'll let you introduce yourself, like, how long you've been training for and like what's the background looking like? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, so I've been training for, I don't know, 15 years, maybe more.
Shit. Okay.
Um, Started training to get better at ice hockey.
Ice
Grew up
hockey.
in
Okay.
uh, grew up in Canada,
So
so
white.
it was all the hockey. And
Yeah.
then kind of got into after high school, got into all of the different styles of training. Did
Okay.
Olympic lifting, CrossFit, powerlifting. But I always feel like the bodybuilding style of training was always like what I gravitated towards. Did some formal education. Got my bachelor's degree, got my master's degree in physio. Taught at a college teaching
Jeez.
biomechanics before that.
Wow.
Um, now I run a coaching slash physio service online. I currently live in Thailand, and we'll be headed back to possibly Canada at the end of the year. That's a to be determined. So I'm not gonna give
Yeah.
away anything on the podcast.
We won't
So
announce that just yet. So
yeah,
let me backtrack a little bit. So you went from obviously playing hockey and then you went into CrossFit, powerlifting, bodybuilding, everything. You just gravitated towards bodybuilding. But just because you were in the fitness game, you're like, yo, I might as well do something in university related to this. Was that the thought process or?
yeah. So at the start, I thought I wanted to be. I've always like kind of figured out a job that I wanted.
Okay.
So at the start, I wanted to like ever since I stopped hockey, I was like, oh, I'm gonna work with athletes. I'm gonna be a physio, and that was like
Right.
the start of my thought process when I went to like post secondary.
Okay.
And then I was doing like training, like personal training while I was in college.
Okay.
And I actually went to a physio and it was like the worst experience of my life.
Mm,
Um, he just like he had like probably six or seven clients at once. He just like gave me a little massage and like got me to use this like stim pad and then like gave me some exercises, but like didn't really watch the exercises.
mm,
And like I had been researching like how to train and how the body works, etc.
yeah.
Um, and I got a very bad experience, and I was like, oh, like this is how physio is. Like, I don't want to be a physio. Like, this is a stupid job. Like, now I don't
Yeah.
want to do this.
Yeah.
Um, so I decided I was going to be a gym teacher.
That's
So
so
like
sick. Yeah.
the plan was I actually got into like teacher college.
Okay.
Um, and then one of my friends was like, so all of my friends from my program were going to teacher college, and I was the
Sick.
only like me and this other guy were the only physio guys.
Okay.
But they were like, Bax, like you're too smart to be a teacher, like don't do this. And I was like, no, no, like it's gonna be sick. Which
Yeah.
like it in retrospect, for a teacher is a sick job. Like it would have been
It's a
sick.
dope job. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then I got a job in like strength and conditioning. So I
Sick.
was doing like what's called like kinesiology in Canada, which is like
Mm,
obviously
yeah.
in Canada, no. It's like kind of
You're
like
you're
you're not a
you're from Canada, right? You're
yeah,
Surrey.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. So
you're
yeah.
not a trainer, but you're not a physio.
Yeah.
So
I
like you
got you.
work with like car accidents, work safe, whatever.
Okay.
And I was working with all these people in pain, but I'd have to like talk to these physios and stuff, and I was like getting some pretty good results.
Yeah.
But like the physios wouldn't really take me seriously because I
Mm,
wasn't a physio myself.
certified.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So like no one really take me seriously, even when I said something like, oh, like I just saw like, buddy, like we did this and this and this. Like, have you
Yeah.
tried this and this and this? And they'd be like, oh, like don't worry, like we got it handled. It's already. I'm like, okay, cool, like whatever. So then my buddy who I worked at in strength and conditioning with was like, I'm applying for physio in London. If you should come. And I was like, all right, like I'll apply and like we'll see what happens.
Yeah. London, UK,
Um,
right?
yeah, London, UK, not London, Ontario.
Yeah, because it's here. Yeah.
Um, yeah, no. London,
Yeah.
London, England, like
Yeah.
across the pond, if you
Uh,
will.
wicked.
So I applied
Yeah.
and I was like, well, if physios aren't going to take me seriously, like I'll just be a physio and then I'll be able to do everything.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, got in before COVID.
Yeah.
COVID happened. Uh, my school was one of the only schools that didn't shut down.
Nice.
So I moved to the UK during COVID,
Okay.
um, and then did
Crazy.
physio school. And then after London, stayed there for a bit, and
Yeah.
then we moved to Asia before coming back to Canada. So now we're currently we're doing the Asia circuit, if you will. We've lived in like almost every country,
Yeah,
and
you
now
have.
we're
Yeah.
settled in Thailand and
Yeah.
see how it
You,
goes.
you know what's funny? Like, first, like the physio, the group thing. It says the guy's basically running like a group class for training, but in physio. I've never heard of that before. That's fucking jokes. And
Yeah.
based on your background, like you sound like played hockey. You're a smart guy. Personal training. Everything was like streamlined, and then now you're this. Then you, I don't know how your parents reacted. Like, hey, I'm gonna go to UK, and then I'm gonna travel around Asia. Was that like a weird thing in the family, or they were like, oh, that's cool, Bax doing his thing, or was like outside of Bax's personality?
Yeah. So like my parents are they're pretty white. So like if I'm not a doctor, they're not gonna like get upset.
Okay, sick.
So they basically like
That's
my
like the
dad
most
didn't even
opposite of Brown. Yeah,
yeah.
that's so funny.
So
Yeah.
my dad didn't graduate high school,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom like she works online. She took like night school or whatever. So like they
Sick.
just like were just grinding their whole life. So I've
Yeah.
already like they don't really understand what I do.
Yeah.
Um,
But they respect it.
they just look at like the piece of paper. So like when I got
Yeah.
my bachelor's, they're like, when are you getting your master's? And
Mm.
like I got my master's and like, when are you getting your PhD? I was like, do you even know
Yeah.
what a PhD gives me?
Yeah.
It gives me literally nothing except for like
Yeah.
letters beside my name, and I have to do like 4 years of research. Like that
Mm.
sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like they're happy for me. I'm an only child, so like I'm the only chance the family has to keep going.
That's cool. One more thing before I get a main topic, I guess, because I'm curious about this whole thing now, where when someone's in this lifting game, they're really rigid and routined with their schedule, right? And I know you are also technically routined, but with all the moving pieces per se in the past like 2, 3, 4 years, do you think that positively or had an impact on your training, everything? Because in my opinion, you actually grew more, but you tell me about it. Like a lot of people struggle to adapt, right?
Training wise, well, I went through this like weird health thing in the UK,
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
where
yeah.
like they thought I had cancer, like in my brain. They thought I had a prolactinoma, which is like a
What? Okay.
tumor in your brain. So like my give you a medical reference of like the reference range for prolactin is like between 60 and 300. Don't quote me on that. I'm not
Okay.
super
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
super
yeah.
good at that. But my prolactin was um like 800.
Oh shit. Okay.
So it was like
Way higher. Yeah.
2.5 times the reference.
Jeez. Okay.
And I was having like a literally so like in physio school, the one of the main things you learn is like how to not kill someone. That's pretty
Yeah.
much all they teach you. It's like these are the red flags that you have to send someone to the hospital so they don't
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
So we're learning about like cancer red flags all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I had unexplained weight loss, night sweats, and like was very depressed. And I was like, yo, these are all cancer red flags that I'm learning about. And like I have all of them.
Yeah.
So I was eating like 4,000 calories a day and I was losing like 1 kg a week.
Jeez.
So I was just like withering away. Um,
Okay.
so in the UK, like I was still doing all the things.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like I didn't really make a ton of progress.
Yeah.
Um,
Training
but
wise.
yeah, like
Well,
training wise, yes, but like body wise, probably not.
no, I mean like training and body wise, you didn't make too much progress, where you were still making
Yeah.
progress in like other areas. Like you were learning still,
Yeah.
business, all
So
that shit was still
I'm
moving, right?
always
Yeah.
still doing things. I think it was hard at the start when we moved to Asia because it was like
Yeah.
each place is new and we only spent a month there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But now it's like I just have the tasks that I have to do every day,
Yeah.
and I just do the same tasks regardless of where I am. So it's like literally like tick your daily boxes, but like some
Yeah.
days I'll be here, and then like last week I had to like fly to Singapore, so
Yeah.
it's like I still have to do the same things, just in a different place.
Different time
So
zone. Yeah.
I think like people make people's schedules or like the values that they have aren't concrete enough. So
Mm.
when they go on like vacation or something, they're like just
Yeah.
fall off. Like think about like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
You would always brush your teeth, probably 2 times a day, right? I brush my teeth in the morning after coffee.
Yeah.
Sometimes not in the morning if I'm just like eating and running out the door, but like definitely
Yeah.
in the night before bed,
Yeah. Yeah. I should do that before bed, but I sometimes
right?
forget. Yeah.
So like wherever you are, if you
Yeah.
don't do that, you're gonna be like, oh, like
Yeah.
I need to do this. So it's like that's a habit that you've ingrained in yourself since like probably your parents were yelling at you when you were a kid to brush your teeth,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it's the kind of the same thing with like these work things, studying, etc. It's like each day I have to do X amount of things because that's like those are the habits that I've made, and that's like I just do them in a different place. So that's kind of like the comparison I make of like when
Yeah.
you're traveling around, you're not gonna like not shower or not like eat or
Yeah.
not brush
Brush
your
your teeth.
teeth. It's like the same thing. Like I have to respond to my client check-ins and like
Yeah.
I should get some sort of like education in
Yeah.
like almost every day. Like it doesn't take a long time, especially with YouTube. Like you can just watch 15 minutes and you're chilling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
What's your
yeah,
go-to
so I kind
YouTube
of just
education channel?
oh,
If I put you on the
I
spot,
don't
eh?
even I don't even really want
Oh
like
yeah, I guess you do education
don't
through like
even
actual.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I do. I have like probably 6 courses on the go.
Okay. 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 Damn. Holy
What
shit.
what
Okay.
comes up if I click YouTube?
No, but it's funny we were talking about this last podcast with the bros or like uh this whole idea of like you just said brushing your teeth is just ingrained in us. So like working
Mm,
out, checking the boxes, client check-ins, eating your meals, all that stuff is just like boxes that have to be ticked and you just tick them. Doesn't matter where you are, right? Um, People almost like sometimes make it like a big overthink it per se, if you want to call it that. And overthinking isn't a bad
yeah,
thing. It's probably telling you something if you're overthinking some part. Um, but it's like, yo, you're just in a different place. You still have to like get jacked. Like you're not gonna put get jacked on hold or your health on hold, right? Just because you're like
yeah,
away for a week or two. So I guess people justify about like, oh, I'm on a vacation now, or like I'm escaping from reality per se. But like, why do you need to escape from reality, right? That should be like a bigger question. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I guess
So
that's a different podcast.
w-
Um,
with clients, before we get into it, with
yeah,
clients
yeah,
when they like you probably have this of like, oh, like do you like, oh, I'm going away, like what do I do for this? Or like what do I
yeah,
do for this?
yeah,
I sometimes like give them the I always ask questions, right? Like that's my thing of like
yeah. That's your
I
thing.
if I know someone knows the answer,
Yeah,
like I want to find where the knowledge gap is. And like most people know the answer. They just like one either don't think because they know that they have me that they can just text or
yeah,
like just physically just I don't know. But like I'll always ask like they'll be like, "Oh, like why how am I going to do this on vacation?"
yeah,
And I'll give them like an extreme example of like, "Oh, on vacation are you just going to start doing this?" It's like, "Are you just going to start smoking on vacation?" And
yeah,
they're like, "Well, no." I was like, "Then why would you change anything else?" And they're like, "Oh." I was like, "Is there a grocery store in the place you're going to?" And they're
yeah,
like, "Yeah." I was like, "Go get your food from there." It's like you're staying in an Airbnb, you're not all inclusive. So like
Yeah.
you have to eat somewhere.
Yeah.
Just do the same thing in a different place. And they're like, oh, that makes so much sense.
But I'm sure you do this like maybe one meal like date night or something like that where like say like you're in different countries or different places like experiencing the culture, different foods. Um, like it's not just maybe it's not every meal, but you're still experiencing the cities you're in. But now it's like you've been doing it so much where like you have to structure it that way. But like say
Yeah.
somebody's just traveling for like a week to like Thailand, right? They're having fun per se. Would you still like stick to
I
everything?
no. I'd say like it's hard because having having like a big change in diet like really freaks you out,
Yeah, messed everything up.
right? Like
Yeah,
especially somewhere like Thailand where like I was on the train yesterday and I was looking at people's skin
yeah.
and like some people just have like the worst skin I've ever seen.
Mm,
And like you got some nice skin,
yeah.
but like
It's funny, like my face and everything, back, everything looks good, but my hands get really dry. Like, but it's okay. I only look at the bad part,
yeah,
but
but
I'll take it. It's
people only look at your face when they say
yeah, yeah.
you have nice skin. No one's
I
like, oh,
know.
look at those gross ass hands. They're like,
I
oh,
know.
buddy's got like some
Yeah,
straight teeth and a nice beard and a nice skin, right?
yeah.
So I
I'll
was
take
looking
it.
at like people's skin on the train because like
Yeah.
you're literally crammed in on this train. Like I'm like right beside guys' face, and I was like, I bet you this is because like they just eat shit all the time,
Mm,
right? And then you look at like the more like the expats versus like the more whiter people who
yeah.
don't live there, and it's like they have nicer skin because I know they don't eat the local food. So it's
That's
like fried food, all this stuff is like very inflammatory. So it's like if you're gonna do that, I almost like I would try it, don't get me wrong, but it
yeah.
wouldn't be like
Daily.
I can almost like know I know what the outcome will be.
Mm,
So it's like I can be proactive and not reactive.
yeah.
Right? So it's like that's one thing that like I've started to do. Of like I almost sometimes it's weird. Like maybe this is a me thing. Like I almost like won't like I'll try a little bit of something.
Yeah.
So like if it was at a restaurant, me and Mads would order like a dish of like the local cuisine,
Yeah.
and then like another dish that like we know that is like not gonna fuck us up,
Mm. It's
and then
smart.
we'd have like some of it, or like
Yeah.
if it's good, like we'll have all of it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But like we'll have some of it to try and like
Yeah.
discuss, and then like we know we have our other meal that's like not gonna
Yeah.
frig us up. So like luckily like financially it's pretty cheap over here, so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we can do that. Like I'm not gonna probably get a I'm going to dinner in Toronto. I'm not gonna get a third meal probably. So
You had to sell a kidney or something for that third meal, but
yeah,
it's
well, I mean,
it's funny, right? Like the counter argument. Like I'm not making the argument because I'm in the same boat
yeah,
because I'll be feeling good. People are like, yo, hey, just live a little bit, like enjoy yourself. You're outside, just like eat all the stuff they have, eat like shit, whatever, drink as much as you can, smoke, whatever it is. You just do it, just live a little bit, enjoy yourself, right? But it's like I don't know how you feel, but I'm sure you feel similar, but it's like you enjoy yourself more when you feel better, right? Like
yeah,
if you're feeling good, everything digestion feels good, you don't feel inflamed, your skin doesn't feel iffy, you'll be able to just feel more energized and have way more fun, right? But like you said, if you just have a little dosage of it, you still get the taste or like enjoyment out of it, right? They don't have to. One of the biggest tips I give to guys, because like obviously brown guys, when they go on vacation, it gets a little rowdy. So
yeah,
one of the biggest things for food, I always tell people is like, hey, just eat until you actually feel good, and don't eat after that. Like you don't need to just eat because your heart's like, oh, I'm here in this spot. I have to eat 10 plates instead of like three when I feel good, right? Like you
yeah,
don't have to overdo it because it's the same amount of taste. The taste is not going to change, right? So yeah, and you probably feel better along the way. So yeah,
yeah. I think like the knowing that you're sacrificing like short term
yeah,
dopamine rush feeling good for like
yeah,
long term feeling good for a full day,
yeah,
right? Especially when you're on vacation, it's like say you go out and have like a massive meal.
yeah,
It's like you almost waste the next day, like half of it, because you like feel so sluggish and stuff, and then like you don't want to go do things.
yeah,
So you're almost like wasting part of your vacation of like food is like maybe if you're really like a foodie person, maybe, but like
Yeah.
if you're on vacation, like doing things is what people usually go on vacation for, not like
Yeah.
they don't just go to eat. So it's like, oh, like now, like when you do this hike or like on this boat trip or something, like you feel better rather than like
Yeah.
just crushing food all the whole time.
So actually, before we get to this is gonna be the last thing. But have you, since you've been traveling everywhere, have you taken any days where like, yo, this is vacation? Like 3, 4 days,
Um,
like a week here and there, or not
I
really?
feel like not really like like maybe like 1 or 2 days where we like go to an
Okay.
island or something because there's some cool
Okay.
stuff, but like not definitely not like weeks.
Okay.
So it's like I don't similar to you, like you don't have a business. I don't have a business,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like I have a service.
Yeah.
So it's like if I don't do work, I don't make money,
Yeah.
right? So it's like people are like, oh, I'm a business owner. I'm just, no, you're not. Like you're an online coach, like you're a service provider. I provide a
Yeah.
service. If I
Yeah.
don't provide that service, clients will leave, and then I
Yeah.
don't have money.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice where like I can say like we're gonna go, I don't know, like take a drive to the mountains and like see some cool shit.
Yeah.
I can wake up early and like get all of my work done. And then like in the car, I can do all my text messages on my phone. And then like I can kind of like put my phone away while we're there. So it's like
Yeah.
we're doing like a mini vacation, but like the work still gets done.
Okay.
And then like the best part is like if you have an actual like PT job, when you go away, the money that you make stops.
Yeah.
Right? So like, oh, I didn't do any sessions. So I'm like, technically, like, I'm not losing. I'm like, I'm spending more money because I'm away, and I'm losing money because I don't have that income.
Yeah.
But here, it's like I kind of have like, I don't do like payments up front in my service. I do like monthly.
Yeah.
Even if they want to pay up front, I'm like, no, no, like just keep the money in the bank account. Then like just pay me monthly. So I
Yeah.
know like I have like almost like a salary that I get,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's just consistent, which is like a lot better for like budgeting things of like, oh, I'm going to an island today and for 2 days. It's like I have to be on my phone a little bit, but I do the bare minimum and then like I get back and I grind a little harder. But it's like
Yeah.
the financials are stable, which is a lot nicer than like when I was a PT, is like, oh, going away, gotta get like 10
Yeah.
more sessions in this week. I'm like texting all my clients, like asking if they want an extra session.
Yeah. 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 Now,
So
predictable recurring cash flow, the best business model, right? If you can get that
yeah.
recurring, you can predict a little bit better. So, okay, so I don't know how to transition from that to this now, but one of the biggest things, because I want to pick your brain a little bit, and I get this asked all the time, is like, hey, bro, one of my goals is like, yes, like I want to be jacked, I want to get bigger, but like I want to be like functional, bro, right? Like I want to be athletic, I want to be able to jump, I want to be able to like run. I don't want to have like joint pains, like I don't want to have like hip tightness, all that stuff. And that's what they define as like functional. Like I want to feel functional, but also I want to get bigger and leaner. So is it possible to get bigger and get jacked, but also be functional?
Yeah, of course. So when we being functional is such a
Yeah,
buzzword, but
I
like I
know,
would
I
definitely
know.
you
Yeah,
you did a good job there of like kind of defining like the first thing I would say to the person is like, okay, like what does functional mean to you? Like how do you
yeah,
know if you're functional?
yeah.
And like some people have like they just have this misconception of like if they're big, they're not functional.
Okay, yeah,
Um, so it's like and their definition of function is like, oh, I want to be able to like play with my kid and walk up the stairs. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like we don't have to do anything except like just get your steps, do some cardio, and like do your normal lifts,
yeah.
right? But if they're like, oh, I want to be functional, I want to like be what would be called a hybrid athlete, very trendy. Like, oh,
There
I
you go.
get jacked, but like I also run, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Then we have to be for like running and stuff. We need to be a little bit more meticulous, but even not at the same time because it's all about like, getting jacked is about a stimulus and then like energy demands,
Hmm.
right? So the only
Yeah.
thing that we would have to look at is like switching up food around a run
Okay.
and making sure that if they want to get like if their goal is to get jack legs and run, that like the run doesn't affect the leg training and the leg training doesn't affect the run.
That makes sense.
In terms of like other athletic qualities,
Yeah.
um, for probably most people listening haven't actually like trained athletes, like
Yeah.
you need very little, like you want everything to be like max intensity for
Yeah.
like jump, like power, like jumping and sprinting and all that.
Yeah.
So like the number of reps is like extremely low
All quality. Okay.
to get good. It's like I don't know, probably like 5 or 6 clients who we run like a similar program to what we're explaining.
Yeah.
And their warm up is just athletic things.
So what would that
But
look
it's
like?
like
Box
it's like
jumps
the
and sh
first part of it would be like a ISO hold, like a split squat ISO hold for 30 seconds per side,
Okay. Okay.
followed by like a counter movement box jump, meaning like you load down and then jump up.
Mm.
But you do
Okay.
2 reps of box jump.
So single leg or no, just a normal box jump.
Just normal box jump.
Okay.
So it'd be like 2 or 3 sets. You would hold an isometric for 30 seconds per side,
Okay. Okay.
and then you would do 2 jumps. And
Okay.
then you would rest for like 3, 4 minutes.
3, 4 minutes. Okay.
You would do that 2 times. So
Okay.
like the total athletic stuff in the workout
Yeah.
would be 10 minutes maybe.
Okay.
So it's like you need very little because the intensity is so high, the volume has to be lower.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take that long.
Yeah. I think
So
more.
for
Yeah. More I hear this, it's like it depends so much on what the individual thinks what function is and what their actual.
yeah,
Because like we can get into so many like if someone's like baseball player or like a basketball player or a football player or like they're a golfer, right? It'd be like different things, right? Maybe we can go over a
yeah,
little bit. I don't know if you're training basketball guys, but I know a
yeah.
lot of B town guys, play basketball. I like rebounding, but I don't really do anything else. But so if
Yeah.
someone's like trying to get good at basketball, right? They want to be able to jump a little bit higher. They want to be like not run out of too much cardio. The cardio stuff, obviously, we got to run a decent amount, and like you said, try to have more food before that run, so your glycogen is obviously storage is nice there, and it doesn't affect your leg
Mhm.
training. But like we can start with they want to be able to like increase their vertical, right? Um, those two movements that you mentioned, the ISO hold and a box jump, would be a good starting point.
Yeah. So with something like basketball,
Yeah.
there is there's a variety of physical qualities that we're looking for,
Okay.
right? So there's like cardiovascular endurance, that's easy, right? Like your
Yeah.
heart doesn't know what it's doing,
Yeah.
right? I'm assuming. And then it also depends like how often is this person playing the actual sport,
Yeah.
right? Because we don't want the training to interfere with the actual playing sport, right? But
Okay.
with
Yeah.
like with B town guys, like are they playing college or pro basketball? No, they're like just playing. Maybe they're just playing basketball in the park
Yeah.
with like their
But
buddies, and they want to be better. But like,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's also a consideration of like, okay, maybe we can like crush arms before we go play ball.
Yeah. For
But
sure.
yeah, so if we look at like
Cardio.
absorb cardio,
Okay.
absorbing force,
Okay.
producing force, and change of direction.
Okay. Sick.
Those are like the probably the 4 things that I would look at. Cardio is easy, so I'd look at the other 3, right? So absorbing force would be like an eccentric focused movement, which would be like
Okay.
a counter movement box jump. So like when we load down and then explode up,
Okay.
right?
Like a step down.
Um, like a step down, yep,
Okay.
right? A B stance RDL
Okay.
or a normal RDL.
Okay.
The ISO hold that we talked about,
Yeah. But are these
right? And
all like
then
really slow on the eccentric? That's the intention.
yeah, not super
Super.
slow, but like
Okay.
you could so speed is a variable that is a progression. So like
Okay.
fast is a progression from slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we would start someone with slow,
Okay.
and then like if they can keep the position,
Yeah.
we would grade them to like maybe something faster.
That makes
Right. So
sense.
like a kettlebell swing would be like almost like the end of the one of the end of the road of like an eccentric focus movement.
Okay. To absorb
Right. And
force.
then yeah. So then like a concentric focus movement would
Wait,
be like
if so, I'm just gonna go complete like break it down. So absorbing force. You mean absorbing force and like the when someone's like playing basketball and they're like jumping or like they're landing. So being
Yeah.
able to absorb that force, right, is getting
Yeah.
better
So
through these movements.
exactly. So anytime
Okay.
we have to do, if you can think about it like eccentric, like lengthening a muscle,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? Like we focus on eccentric, we focus on concentric, and
yeah.
then we focus on change of direction, which is both,
Okay, that makes sense.
right? So like an eccentric focus movement would be like you have a slow eccentric tempo, right? A
Yeah.
step down is like a very good example,
Okay. Sick.
right? And then the
Concentric.
concentric focused or producing force
Producing
would be
force.
like
Okay.
a trap bar deadlift, like a pin squat. So you like set the
The
safeties
bars.
high
Yeah.
in the rack. So you're
Okay.
doing like a quarter squat, right?
Okay.
D-town guys
Okay.
be probably pretty good at that.
Yeah, come on,
Doing
man. D-town.
doing
We got
a small range of motion with a lot of weight, like pretty
I
quick.
yeah, I guess that's pretty
Um,
B-town, but we got some,
uh,
yeah, the people that watch this, the couple people that do, they have pretty good depth in it. But okay. I get what you're saying. Okay. Pin.
and then something like a seated box jump or a seated broad jump, where like you're not loading down and then exploding. It's like you're already starting in the max hip angle and you're just pushing out,
I got you. Okay.
right? So that's just concentric. So concentric focus movement, very, very low fatigue,
Okay.
right? Like muscle damage is mostly made during the eccentric,
Essential. Yeah.
right? So that's why like if you watch power lifters at the gym,
Yeah.
they'll do a deadlift and then basically just drop it on the ground
Yeah.
because they only care about the concentric.
Yeah.
And then if they did the eccentric, it would just accrue more fatigue.
That makes sense.
So you could have like the same program of like deadlifting twice a week. If you did the eccentric part of the movement, if you're a powerlifter, we would likely accrue maybe too much fatigue and wouldn't be able to recover. But you could do the same volume and just like do your deadlifts, but then drop it on the ground. It's like,
Okay.
okay, now like we actually have less fatigue because we're not doing the eccentric.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so we got so pin squat and trap bar. Would you load that like a decent amount, or that wouldn't be? It
Yeah.
would be right because it's lesser
So
range of motion.
I
Okay.
still want it to be, the key is like we still want it to be fast, right? So you do like a high handle trap bar
Yeah.
and a like say your max for a deadlift is like for trap bar is like 4 plates,
Come on, five. Yeah. We have four.
right? Five. So let's say five. So let's say 5 plates, right?
Yeah.
We probably do like 2.5 or 3 plates
Okay.
for just like 2 or 3 reps, but you'd
Yes.
move it like very, very quickly,
Okay. That
right?
makes sense.
For if it's too deep, right? Like range of motion is almost like something that like in hypertrophy training, like we chase range of motion,
Yeah.
right? The more range we go through, the more gains we get.
Yeah.
For athletic things, it's like we don't really need to load through those deep ranges as much
Yeah.
in that part of the workout.
That makes sense.
So like if we are going, if say we're pretty tall
Yeah.
and we're doing a high handle trap bar deadlift, it might actually be too low to the ground. Like I might need to raise it up,
Mm.
like put
Okay.
some plates underneath so that like we're only loading from like a half or quarter squat and
Okay.
like producing that force quick and then getting into like maybe we contrast that with like a jump
Okay.
and then that's our concentric focus movement.
And this would be at the start of the workout, preferably,
Yeah,
right? All of them.
yeah.
Okay.
So you always want to do fast things at the start. So like if you were to break down like a strength and conditioning session,
Yeah.
it would be like movement prep, speed or power work,
Okay.
strength work, hypertrophy work after that.
That makes sense. Okay.
Right.
So
So it'd be like,
we talked about the speed and power work, right?
yeah,
Oh, we didn't we talk about change in direction yet, right? So
no,
that
we didn't talk
how
about
would
change. So
yeah.
change of direction, it could just be like absorbing force and then producing force in the same plane, right? So
Okay.
it could be like a forward lunge. So like you lunge forward, absorb force, push back
Okay.
out of it, right? And then like the highest, like usually we go in like try to go in like all planes,
Yeah.
right? So it'd be like a rotational med ball throw against a wall,
Okay.
right? So
That makes
like you
sense.
throw the med ball, it bounces off the wall, you catch it, absorb force, rotate, throw it back to the wall.
Okay. That makes
right? So
sense.
that's like you would want to like look at like all three planes of like sagittal front to back, right? Side to side, maybe do like a lateral bound, and then transverse would be like some sort of
Rotation.
rotational movement.
Okay. That makes sense. So right now we have initially say like someone we can get back to someone's trying to be functional and in their mind functional is being someone that's athletic, they can do cardio, they can run, and they can also get
Mhm.
jacked. So we've covered the uh cardio component. It's like your heart doesn't know what you're doing, so just
Yeah.
run more. And if you get into like a higher level, then yeah, you can look into the food intake and making sure the cardio isn't affecting your leg training per se. And then if you do want to endeavor in the athletic world. You can do some stuff we just talked about. Endeavor was a big word for me, man. That's pretty nice.
There you go.
So we can do the three things, right? Absorb force, so something where like you're more slower on the eccentric, and then
Yeah.
not so, technically, but yeah, initially slow, and over time you do want it to be fast as long as you can do it in the same manner, right? And
Yeah.
then absorb, and then it produce force. So something like a ping
Yeah.
squat or trap bar. And those are just examples. There's probably so many variations. It's just you want to do it a little bit faster. And then
Mhm.
something change direction, but just make sure you're in all planes. So something like a forward back lunge, med ball slam. It could even be like a lateral, the lateral skaters thing. Is that, I don't know if
Yeah.
you ever, that'd be a nice move, right?
But
Um,
understanding that like it should always be like fast and high effort, right? So
fast,
it's
high
not like,
effort.
hey, we're gonna do 30 seconds of skaters.
Okay.
It's like you're
It's like,
gonna bound there and back and then rest for 10 seconds and do that three times. Like it's
got you.
not
Yeah.
um you don't want the quality to drop. So like
Okay.
for example, say Buddy works out 4 days a week,
Yeah.
right? We have push pull legs, full body,
Yeah.
right? We might do like upper body power on the push day,
Okay.
right? So we do like a plyo push up and a med ball throw,
There you
right?
go.
Plyo push up is eccentric focused,
Yeah.
med ball throw is concentric focused,
Yep.
right? On the pull day, I might do eccentric focus lower body, right? I might do a step down and a broad jump, and then I
Eccentric,
might do
concentric. Okay.
concentric focused counter movement broad jump, so that would still be eccentric, and then I
Okay.
might do concentric focus um on the leg day,
Okay.
which would be um
The
like
trap
a
bar.
trap bar deadlift, and
Yeah.
then like a seated vert jump. So
Okay.
concentric focus, and then on the other day I might start with like actual like on the full body day I might start with like actual sprints. Like we're
Sick.
doing three 10 to 15 second sprints on the treadmill.
Okay. Perfect.
Right.
10.
So there's your
Yeah.
then like that's just starting your workout. Like none of those should take more than like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
if that. And then you get into if we were doing strength work, that's when we would go into the strength work. If we're just doing hypertrophy work, you'd go into the hypertrophy work after.
Okay. So we've gotten the component for like, okay, if you want to be a little bit more athletic, and that's what
Yeah.
functionality, that's something you literally rewind the podcast the last, whatever, 2 seconds. You
Yeah.
can try implementing that and see how your body reacts to that. And then the lifting part, we already talk about it a lot, but the lifting component could be the normal hypertrophy stuff. But I think one other thing people relate to as being functional is like, hey, like, I don't want to have too much tightness. And I know tightness is something I actually want to cover by like different podcasts. And I want to go over like, okay, this podcast we're talking about how to get like loosey goosey hips, loosen the hips a little bit. This one we're talking about shoulders, but like in general, when someone feels tight everywhere, like if you can give like a general definition what that means, and if someone can take any like practical action steps to maybe improve it.
Yeah. So tightness is like the biggest buzzword of all time, especially in like
Yeah,
the clinical space.
yeah,
It really just means like tightness is a feeling of a muscle or muscles that can't change orientation, meaning they're either stuck concentric or stuck eccentric, right? Stuck long or short.
okay. So
It is a
bicep,
nerve.
this will be
Yeah.
short bicep.
So like
It's just stuck here.
if I'm stuck like this,
Yeah,
and then I like handed you a bowl of food, and you tried to like bring your arm out, but your arm
yeah.
is stuck, you'd be like, oh, my bicep is so tight,
Okay, sick. You gotta explain
right?
everything in
So
bicep terms. Yeah,
yeah. So
Okay.
you have a tight bicep, it's stuck like this, or it's stuck long all the time and it never
Okay.
actually gets short. That's like
Mm.
usually people's like upper traps and stuff. They're like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just like they're very long all the time. And they
Okay.
don't ever actually get short. So like they're stuck at one end of the spectrum of like
Mm.
muscle length.
Okay.
So then they feel tight because they're like stretched all the time. Hamstrings are another one. Like if
Okay.
someone has like a big anterior tilt, right? Like a really extended spine,
Yeah.
like a stripper butt, if you will.
Cardi B. Okay. Stripper butt. That's
Um,
better.
yeah, we will have hamstrings that are lengthened. They might
Yeah.
feel tight.
Okay.
So, in terms of like things we can do to mitigate this tightness,
Yeah.
as long as we can work through all ranges of motion,
Okay.
that is going to relieve tightness
Okay.
because we will have the ability to change orientation of these muscles, right? So it's
Okay.
like, hey, can someone the exercises are usually the same if we are talking about like the tightness is caused by how our body moves,
Yeah. That makes sense.
right? So,
So say for example, let's cause since you already mentioned traps, and I'm guessing if people watch, a lot of YouTube or watch things online, they might have
yeah,
some sort of trap tightness, or even just like if they look at their phone a lot, right? And one of the common things, even sometimes I find myself doing this, but I have to kind of think a little bit. It's like if I feel like tightness here, like I'll notice myself like stretching even more, right? I'll stretch this way, I'll stretch this way, and I'll stretch like this way too, right? But like I'm already here. That's what you're kind of saying, right? Like I'm already lengthened, right? So
yeah.
something, so what would be a counter to that that would maybe start improving that tightness?
So with upper body things,
Yeah.
it's usually like chest or upper back or neck,
Okay. Okay.
right? It's never like I got tight biceps,
Yeah, that's true.
right? Like you got tight biceps because like they're jacked, but
Jacked.
like you
Yeah.
don't. You're not like sitting at your desk typing. You're like, oh, my biceps are so achy right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like my neck hurts, right? So most of those things are those muscles are attached to the rib cage. So
Okay.
for upper body things, I would say like breathing would be my number one go-to
Okay.
of like
Sick.
why are we like this?
Yeah.
Because we can't move these ribs, right? If
Okay.
I lay down and take some breaths,
To the nose?
yep, through the nose, out through the mouth, really light.
Okay.
You should be like you shouldn't really be able to hear it. Try to like tilt
Gonna
your
be like
chin
that, right?
up.
Yeah.
If you're down like this, you're gonna
Okay.
block your airway.
Okay.
So like you can see my ribs move as I breathe in. Right now, these
Yeah.
muscles are changing orientation right away, and my tightness is going to be subjectively less.
So 10
For
sets of
lower
breathing.
body, yeah. So like I don't know, lay down on the ground,
Yeah.
put your feet up on a wall, do like 2 rounds of 10 breaths, as slow as you can and as quiet as you can. And then for lower body and upper body, just getting moving.
Okay.
Like the body was meant to take like 30,000 steps a day.
Jeez. Did not know that.
Who takes 30,000 steps a day? No one. Well, think about it. We're just supposed to wake up and hunt and gather,
Yeah.
not wake up, get a bowl of oats, sit here and drink coffee and talk to a screen when I have
Crazy. Yeah.
321 steps.
My Fitbit's
Um,
off. It's probably 0 steps today, but yeah.
yeah. So it's like
Okay.
as I move or just walk,
Yeah.
I get I get more range of motion, which means I get less tight. Right? Obviously,
Yeah.
there's a bell curve of like if someone was actually taking 30,000 steps, like they'd probably be pretty stiff,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just a new stimulus. But like
Yeah.
if you feel tight, like hey, maybe you have 5,000 steps a day, you up it to 8,000,
There you go. Yeah.
and then like you'll feel less tight, right? If
Okay.
you have like a this is the so that's like say we have like mechanical or muscular, it's all nervous system based, but say
Yeah.
that like the biomechanics were the issue of the tightness. That's what we've kind of addressed.
Okay.
But because tightness is like a nervous system thing,
Biomechanics is a
there
pretty big word. What would
so like how the body moves.
okay, sick.
It's
Thanks.
like technique
I got it.
focused
I got it.
things.
Yeah.
So say that, but tightness is a nervous system thing. So like your brain and spinal cord will control the muscles.
Okay.
So if we're in like a sympathetic state all the time,
Okay.
we're gonna have more tension in our muscles.
Sympathetic
So
meaning more stress state, right?
yeah, so like
Okay.
our caffeine intake is at a gram per day. We
Yeah.
broke up with our girlfriend. We haven't been sleeping.
Yeah.
We like are stressed at work. We're dehydrated. All of these things, like you're you're just gonna be more sensitive to these things. Pain kind of like works the same way. Like there's like this switch of like
Yeah.
sensitivity, right? If you're relaxed, you're not gonna feel any tightness and or any pain, right? Unless like your pain is actually like caused by a real injury, like I stabbed you in the arm. Obviously, you'll
Yeah.
feel pain there. But like someone who is not stressed is like their body is like, oh, like all right, we're chilling, right?
Yeah.
So some people, like I have a guy, he probably won't listen to this, so I can talk about him. He's lost like I want to say like 23 kilos.
Wow. Holy
Like he
shit.
looks like a new human,
Crazy.
but he's had like pain the entire time.
Okay.
And like I'm the guy who like gets people out of pain, so I'm like freaking out. Um, but like his lifestyle is just like it makes me stressed hearing about his lifestyle. It's like,
Jeez.
oh, like I didn't like his sleep hasn't been over. I don't think it's been over like 6 hours a night since we were been working together.
Wow.
And we haven't been like we've only been working together for like maybe 16 weeks, and he had like quite a bit to lose
Okay. Okay. Okay.
for like 4 months, and he hasn't
Yeah.
got more than 6 hours of sleep.
Crazy.
And it's like he's like just so stressed out all the time and like doing all these things and like telling me about like these things, and I'm like, yo, man, like at some point, like the pain is not like I don't. I've kind of told him like, hey, like these are our main rocks of like we need to figure out how to get sleep. Like we've tried like we've done sleep supplements and like they go a little bit better, but like he's just such an anxious guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like from a biomechanics standpoint, like he has more joint range of motion, he moves way better, he's getting jacked, like he's doing all the things, but he
Yeah.
still like experiences these tightness and symptoms, and he's like just hypersensitive to everything. And
Mm.
like every exercise he does like hurts at least a little bit,
Wow.
but
Okay.
like he's making crazy gains and he's like getting shredded,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, yo, like if your lifestyle is like just you're just the most sympathetic human on the earth.
Is it you think it's if it's more like work related stress versus like relationship emotional stress, one of them has more like hierarchy wise, or is it
I think people respond differently.
okay, that's true.
So I
Yeah.
would say like let's take me personally.
Yeah.
If it's work stress, I'm like quite sympathetic. Like, oh, like work, I gotta get it done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, if it's like relationship stress, I'll like it's like the opposite. It's like I kind of just like shut down and like want to be
Okay.
alone. I
Yeah.
don't feel stressed. I just kind of feel sad, which is like probably the same like from a
Yeah.
physiological level, maybe the same, but maybe different. But like from a
Okay.
subjective level, I
Yeah.
feel like when I need to get work done, it's like I don't know, it's 10 o'clock at night and I still have things to do before bed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm stressed now.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like
yeah.
my
Okay.
stress goes up. But like if I have relationship problems, it's not like for me personally, it's not
Yeah.
like not that I have relationship problems. Mads, love you. Uh
I was just
it's not
I was
like
just yeah, I was just curious if like one thing had more impact on somebody. So like
yeah.
if
I
somebody's
think
listening and they're like, how can I backtrack some of the tightness?
I think it's
Yeah.
quite individualized.
I
So
agree.
like different some people handle different stressors better. Like if it was a stressor that it's like I'm super weird. Like if it's a stressor that like I can't really do anything about,
Yeah.
I'm not stressed about it. So like I smashed my phone a couple months ago
Yeah.
and I was like, oh
Shit.
shoot, well, need to buy a new phone.
Yeah.
And it was like that was it. Like there was no stress, wasn't upset.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
well, these things happen. And some people like if they smash their phone, they'd be
Yeah.
like all flustered and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's like different people respond to different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But then like some small things I'll like get stressed about, which are like so stupid. And then in retrospect, I'm like, why am I getting stressed about this? Like this is so dumb.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
So
It's just
yeah,
it's like certain things will there's always certain things that people get more stressed. So like I'm a guess actually over time I've gotten better at it, but I'm more balanced now. If it's like work related, I'll get a bit more stressed. If it's like emotions or like relationship stuff is more be a little bit more stress, but we know how to like kind of because we're aware of the consequences it leads to. So I guess we're more
Hmm.
aware in that sense. Like, okay, maybe I gotta step up my sleep in the next like 5 days, just because I know these 2, 3 days are gonna be really stressful. So then we average it
Yeah.
out a little bit. At least that's how I kind of approach it. Because sometimes okay, like you gotta onboard people or like you got some trips coming up, whatever it is. These next like 4 or 5 days 4 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep, whatever happening, a lot of caffeine. You just know it's gonna be like sympathetic days. But like just
Hmm.
being aware of that, you're like, okay, I'm feeling this extra thing here, I'm feeling this extra tightness here, or I'm feeling extra anxious, whatever it is, you can easily backtrack it because you know, okay, like it's because of these external things rather than like I am tight everywhere, right? So it's
Yeah.
good awareness wise, right?
I think the biggest thing is understanding that like tightness is not a mechanical issue,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like you're it's not like a belt that is too tight because you've
yeah,
gained weight. Like
yeah,
your muscles are not tight.
yeah,
Your nervous system is making them tight,
yeah.
right? So like the solution is not loosening them, it's changing your nervous system.
Okay. And then to go about that is like number one, we talked about breath, right?
Yeah.
Second, we talked about
Uh,
just
Breath
walking,
work,
moving more, right?
moving more are like the two big ones for like most people.
Yeah.
Just like not looking at a screen.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. There's this thing called sleep. So everyone's probably heard of like sleep apnea.
Yeah.
It's where like you stop breathing when you're sleeping, and
Yeah.
then you get like a CPAP mask, like all the big bodybuilders have it, which I don't think they should. I think they should just actually have a cardiovascular system. But basically, like people will get a CPAP or like an old person or an overweight person because they
Yeah.
literally just stop breathing during their sleep,
Yeah.
which like they could stop breathing and die. But there's something called screen apnea
Okay.
where like so I have like a Garmin watch, and when I have like a stressful period, all right, like there's this like little line, and it's like and it shows the amount of stress, and it's either like green, which is like low, or like yellow, or like red. And if it's like I have
Okay.
a lot of red, it'll say
Yeah.
like you've had a stressful period, like go and relax for a little bit.
Okay.
Usually I get that in two times in the day
Yeah.
during my workout, after my workout, or when I've been sitting on a computer talking to someone.
Wow.
So like right now, I'm looking at it and it's like mostly red.
No way.
Uh, because looking at a screen,
Yeah.
you actually like your breathing pattern stops and you almost like hold your breath.
That's true. I
But
find
imagine
myself
how
doing that.
stressful holding your breath is,
Yeah.
especially for muscles. Like they don't change orientation. So like
Wow.
not looking at a screen for like even an hour can do just massive things. Because like, what
Yeah.
do when you're like, I'm gonna go relax, lay down on the couch, lay down on the bed? What do? You scroll the ground,
Instagram.
right? It's
Bro,
just like,
yeah, I got this app called One Sec. So every time I
okay,
open Instagram now, it comes up with a thing, take a deep breath. And then after that, another prompt comes up. What's your intention of going on Instagram? Is it because you're procrastinating, bored, anxious, whatever it is? And then you can choose the intention. So like I've written like a custom one, like I'm gonna post like a food picture, reply to DMs, or like I'm gonna
yeah,
post like a walking story or something like that. But bro, I got this on Saturday, and in the last it's ridiculous stats. So like I've been prevented opening up Instagram 73 times and I've saved 4 hours. And those were times I didn't need to open Instagram. Like, because I open it and I feel like a dumbass when I see at the prompt. Because I'm like, I don't even need to
yeah,
open it. So I put my phone down. I just started using this on, and bro, like, I feel more energy. Like, it's messed up
yeah,
how it works, but like, literally, like, the breath component that you mentioned plus the screen time, it makes so much sense because most people spend all their time on the screen. Phone,
yeah,
work, even walking outside, they're on their phone, right?
yeah.
Or like before bed, they're on their phone. So it's like three things right there people can implement right away. It's like, yo, breathe a little bit better through the nose, calm down instead of like hard breaths, walk a little bit more, and then less screen time. And right away,
And
yeah,
yeah, I've started actually like just not taking my phone places.
that's
Like
awesome.
I only know, like I'm in Asia. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have one person that I'm going to talk to. It's Mads. When me and
Yeah,
Mads are going out,
yeah,
I'll just not even take my phone
that's awesome.
and just like I'm not. Everything's gonna be fine. She's the only
Yeah,
person I know here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? So, I think
Wicked.
also this. the size of the screen, this is just a theory from me.
Yeah.
The size of the screen matters,
The size always matters, bro.
and the proximity to the screen matters.
Okay.
So if I'm watching like a 60-inch TV and I'm like pretty close to it, like that's
Yeah.
going to be more, especially like people who watch a movie before bed.
Yeah.
Um, a movie is like a little different because you're not interacting with it.
That's true.
These are all just like theories, but like screen
Yeah.
apnea is like a quite a
Oh,
research thing.
okay.
Um, but like the looking at a smaller screen can actually be better because there's less light going into your face. So
I
like I
should
find,
probably, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I find like when I'm looking at my screen now, like I have a tiny monitor for my camera, and then I have like my laptop screen.
Yeah,
Like that's more stressful than like looking at my phone.
that makes sense.
So
I have the same thing and I have a big ass light up here too that's giving the light on my face. So like doing
yeah,
all this stuff at 9:15 p.m. is like a massive no for the sleep cycle, right? So I noticed the difference in my sleep. It's so funny like all this because like on Friday nights I play 2K with the boys, right?
yeah,
Or like maybe every other Friday, whatever the boys can, we go on FaceTime and we play 2K. And like there's a TV and like sometimes like it gets pretty hectic, so I'm like standing and I get close to the TV. And like those nights, it's the most restless sleep. Because
yeah,
I'm so awake and like I can't sleep just because all the screen. But now we have a word for it, screen apnea. So basically meaning
yeah.
avoiding you to sleep. It hinders your sleep, right? Because you're just staying in.
It'll just stop you. It'll physically stop you from breathing. Like
I'll stop you from breathing.
your
Apnea,
breathing
okay.
pattern will stop
Okay.
or like be very different,
Okay, that makes
which
sense.
is like a an irregular breathing pattern is a stressor.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So those would be the main ones.
It's full circle, eh? So like for somebody who's feeling tight, one of the big reasons is obviously like they're maybe in a sympathetic state. But screen plus not being able to breathe properly are both things that add to the stress, so make you sympathetic, right? So those are a couple things that low-hanging fruits per se, but really hard. Don't get me wrong. Like I noticed, I thought like I was somebody fairly disciplined. I'm like I can just leave my phone and not look at Instagram. But like I was like I got
Yeah,
this app and I'm like I look at it way more. So if someone's not, if someone is aware, just try to have some sort of constraint in place. Or like if you're going somewhere where someone else has a phone, maybe don't take your phone. But yeah,
yeah,
just breathing better, less screen time, walking more. And then one thing I was gonna say is this is where like I think we kind of briefly mentioned it, but training at all ranges of motions in the workout itself. So like the hypertrophy component, that could be the place where people create mobility, right? Um,
exactly. Right. So
yeah,
understanding that heavy loads and low reps create what would be like actual stiffness in like connective tissue, which
okay.
is why like power lifters are strong.
Hmm.
Right? If you are like a rubber band, you're not going to lift any weight,
Yeah,
right? So like
true.
if I want to get someone who's really stiff,
Yeah,
instead of doing stretching, I could just be like, okay, you're going to do a set of 15 on leg press and pause in the hole. So it like modulates the load so much so the load is very low,
yeah,
but the perceived effort is very high, but the range of motion is very large, right?
yeah,
So we're going to be taxing muscles, but we're also going to be like making different pressures in the joint and getting more range of motion.
yeah,
So like using the actual workout is because you still need to use the range of motion once you get it anyways.
yeah.
So it's like, do I want to stretch and then do chest press or just do chest press different? Probably just do chest press different. Now I don't have to do two sets of chest press. I can do four. Now my chest gets twice as jacked.
Oh my God, it's like a Brampton man's dream.
So
Wow.
exactly, right? So less stretching, more just full range lifting.
So this is something where I learned from, I like, I guess in back of my mind, I kind of knew this, but I think you guys talk about different ways of stimulating, like progressive stimulus per se, or like I
Yeah.
think so. Range of motion is one of the best ways to stimulate. It doesn't have to be always add more load, but if you add more range of motion over time, you're still stimulating muscle in a better way if you think about it. So
Yeah. I think
makes
range of
sense.
motion should be the first thing that we grade it up,
Wow. Okay.
right? Understanding that like there's only a certain amount of range of motion at a joint until we're
Yeah.
just chasing chasing range of motion for the sake of range of motion.
I
And it's
got you.
not range of motion at the joint. It's just we're moving that physical load more,
Okay, that's true.
right? So if we do a leg press and my entire spine like round at the bottom,
Yeah,
but like I can like touch the plate to my face, it's like, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much range of motion in
yeah,
terms of like, I want to get range of motion through the hip joint,
I
but I'm
got you.
getting it through the spine and the hip joint. Like maybe I
Yeah.
don't want to do that. Right?
Okay.
Maybe we save the range of motion at the spine for like a cable crunch. Right.
Nice.
So it's like
Okay.
once we have once the first thing we should grade it up is range of motion.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if someone doesn't have full range of motion, they're going to be doing 12 to 15, maybe 15 to 20 reps
Yeah.
till they have range of motion on every exercise. Then the load doesn't increase unless they keep that range of motion. Right. So there should be
Oh,
no like, didn't hit depth here, gonna keep it here and work on depth. It's like, no, no, no. Like you didn't do the, like you're not going to get the depth easier by using a lot of load.
yeah.
Right. You need to get the range of motion first and then grade it up and up and up and up. Right. So like when I started squatting, for example, I would just like squat ass to grass. It's like since I started squatting.
I seen
And then
those.
like
Ridiculous.
I
Yeah.
kept squatting and squatting and squatting like that. And then like there wasn't any other option. Like it almost felt weird to like go halfway.
That makes sense.
Right. So like that I graded range of motion first and then load. So I think for everyone, like range of motion should be realistically from a longevity perspective in the
Yeah.
weight room. Like
Yeah.
the loads that you lift do not, unless you're a power lifter, the loads you lift do not matter at all. And like when someone sees you on the street, no one's like, "Oh, how much you lift?"
Yeah.
Maybe in
Maybe
Brampton,
Brampton. Yeah.
but
That's
like
all they ask. Yeah.
they see like, "Wow, this guy's jacked as
That's
fuck,"
good, Jack. Yeah.
right? So it's like you want to lift the lowest loads possible to get
Yeah.
the gains, so then you can have the longest runway of progression and the least chance of getting injured.
So this is I don't want to switch the topic, but like quick thing tangent here. To create progress, like you just mentioned, you don't have to always increase load, or like load should be the
Yep.
last thing you increase, right? So say for example, like a lot of people obviously chase loads, right? Like every week I want to add 5 pounds, or like I want to stay the same rep. I'm gonna keep going up, keep going up. And then common question is like, hey bro, like I'm at 200-pound bench press. Can I get 300-pound bench press in 6 months? And again, like there's probably different programming styles, but can that individual stay on that 200-pound bench press maybe and get bigger in those 6 months?
Yeah, of course. So like we can get depending on if the goal is strength or goal is hypertrophy.
Bigger, getting jacked.
They're the same,
Yeah.
but they're different at the same time.
Okay.
Right? So if I want to get strength, we'll get some hypertrophy along with it.
Okay.
Right? But my main goal is strength. I
Okay.
want to go farther away from failure and do more sets.
Makes sense.
Right? If I'm trying to get size, I likely want to go close to failure or to failure, maybe even like past failure.
Okay.
Like you get some force reps, and I want to do less sets
Okay.
because I'm going to fail, so I can't do more sets. I can't do
Yeah.
5 sets on chest press.
Because you won't be able to recover from it. Is that the okay?
Exactly, right? So it's like you could use the 200 pounds, and it's like, hey, you do X amount of you instead of doing 7 reps, you do 8 reps, and you go the same proximity to failure, and you just keep doing that until you can get like a set of 15.
Sick.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest for most people is like a double progression model of like they have a rep range.
Yeah.
For people who are newer, I give them a larger rep range.
Makes sense.
Right. So they have like 8 to 15 is the rep range. And then once they use the same load until they can get 15 or
Okay.
around 15.
Yeah.
Still the same like proximity to failure. And
Yeah.
then they up the load and go back to 8.
That makes sense.
Right. But like you might have 2 or 3 weeks where you're using the same load.
Okay.
And then for someone like you who's like
Yeah.
more like has more experience in the gym, your technique is better, etc. Like your rep range might be like 5 to 7 reps
Okay.
on your first exercise or your first set of like the heavy exercise. So now it's
Yeah.
like on the Smith press or the machine press, it's like you can add load probably every second week,
Okay.
right? Like you get 5, maybe you get 6, and then like you're like, ah, like I can add a little bit, and then you get 5 again, and then like you work up to 7, and then you go back down to 5, right?
Okay.
But like someone who, if you're doing 5, 8 to 15, it's like you have a longer time. Like maybe you only progress load every month,
Makes sense.
but you're going from
Okay.
8 reps to 15 reps, almost doing double the work.
Yeah. So you have to get bigger. You're gonna get juicier
Yeah.
as long as you're eating enough
So
food, right?
yeah,
Okay.
as long as you, yeah, as long as your proximity to failure is good, that's
Yeah.
really all that matters in terms of hypertrophy.
Okay, sick. So back reverse. So someone, I'm gonna say this out loud, and you let me know if I'm wrong in certain areas. So someone's trying to create the most hybrid athlete program, right? They're trying to be
Yes.
a hybrid athlete. They can start off. They can a couple times a week just go for a run, right? And you can
Yeah.
increase the heart rate or increase how much distance you run, right? Just start off with that, and then we can look at food and if it's impacting leg days. Just start off with that running, and then second thing at the start of your workouts, like you mentioned earlier in the podcast, the push pull legs upper. You can have it so you start the workout off with that 10 minutes of like either like a power work. You can do start off with the first one, so absorbing force, producing force, and then you can have some sprinting on the last day, right? Start the workout off with that. And then you can majority of the hypertrophy work, this can actually technically be your mobility slash getting bigger. So
Yeah.
if you're newer or like if you need more range of motion, you feel tight all the time, don't even think about this as removing your tightness, but just think of getting strong in all ranges of motions. So doing like 2 to 3 sets, 12 to 15 or 15 to 20 reps, a little bit higher rep ranges, paused, full range of motion based on whatever range of motion the individual has. Take that approach initially. And then outside of the gym, try to make sure you're more aware of your breath, right? Trying to not just like hold your breath. You're aware of your screen time, and then you're moving more in general, like you're walking more, moving a lot more. And all these things should start making you a bit more hybrid of an athlete, right?
Yes.
Sick.
One quick thing I will say about running,
Yeah,
which people don't think about, is so the slower, it's like a bell curve. So the slower you run,
yeah,
the more vertical forces there are,
okay,
right? Because you're more upright because you're running slower,
okay,
right? The faster I run, the more horizontal forces there are because I'm running faster.
okay.
I think about like a sprinter, there would be the most horizontal forces because they're like this.
Yeah, makes sense.
So when I start someone off running, actually this conversation with the client the other day, I want them to actually run faster for a shorter amount of time. So instead
Okay,
of like, hey, I'm gonna run 4K, it's like, hey, no, you're gonna run 1.5K, but you're gonna run faster. So
okay,
there's actually, because there's less vertical forces, there's
yeah.
less recovery capacity
Mm,
needed. So most people will start off and they're like, I'm gonna run slow,
yeah,
which is good because
yeah,
they're starting to run, but they're like, oh, I'm so sore.
yeah.
And if you run like a little bit faster, you actually have less vertical forces, so you actually get less sore. And then like
Wow.
obviously you'll get to a point where like if you're sprinting or running very fast, there's just a lot of forces because you're running fast,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of like this bell curve. So I would look at like if you're timing yourself,
yeah.
most people will start at like 7 to 8 minute kilometers,
Okay.
right? Like 6:30 to 7 minute kilometers. I would try to get your kilometers to around 5:30 as fast as you can.
Mm,
Like 5 minutes and 30 seconds for a kilometer.
okay.
And you might only be able to run 1K, and you might be like you'll be dying, like your heart will be dying. Like you
Yeah,
won't be in any heart rate zones, but you want to just get better at running.
yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
slowly keep that 5:30 pace and build the volume there.
I got you.
Which is kind of the opposite of what you would do with lift, what we said we would do with lifting,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? Like I don't want you to start slow and
yeah,
get perfect technique. Like I want you to go fast right away.
yeah,
And then I want you to keep that speed and increase the volume there. Right. So it's like if I said, hey, I
yeah,
want you to do 1 rep max at squatting.
yeah.
And then next week you're gonna just do 2 reps with your
Two
1 rep
rep.
max. And then
Yeah,
3 reps. It's like
yeah.
that's how I kind of want you to run. Because
Down.
like the
Okay.
faster running, like
Yeah,
cardiovascularly, it'll be hard. Subjectively, it'll be hard. But
yeah,
from like a ground reaction force perspective, especially if you're running outside, it will
yeah.
actually be way better to run faster.
Wow. Okay. And
So
is there
that's
any,
like a
does the shoes matter? What you running?
most people I wouldn't wear barefoot shoes to run in.
Yeah.
because most people suck at running. Like you need that. There's a reason why running shoes have like the big tushy heel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's to absorb force because people suck at running.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
that if
Okay.
you wear barefoot shoes, you actually have to run faster.
Damn.
So like homeboy who like ran the marathon thing, you
Yeah.
don't want to have a heel strike. If you hit your heel on the ground when you have barefoot shoes, you're just
Crazy.
smashing your basically bare heel into the ground, right? So like you have to. It suggests you have to run fast.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So
So
shoes are good for you. Wear your shoes,
yeah,
bros.
yeah, yeah.
Don't get on
Yes,
the
it's
trend.
just
Yeah.
I would say don't wear barefoot shoes unless you can run like around a 4 minute 30-second kilometer.
Holy shit. Okay.
Like if you're like a fucking fast running guy.
Bro, in high school, I used to do 3K in 35 minutes. Retarded. Crazy.
Wow.
I know.
Uh,
I used to be scared of gym class. I used to,
3K. So are you just walking?
bro, I used to just like,
That's our walking. That's mine and Maz's walking pace.
bro, I used to run so slow. And like even now, like I was getting much better. Now I think a 3K doing 20 minutes, which isn't terrible. But like, I want to get, that's a good number. I just circled it. Like, I want to get to that 1K in five and then try to maintain that to like at least 4 or 5K. Right? Because I think
Yeah.
that'd be wicked if I can do five. And like there used to be 5Ks they used to make us do, and I used to cut through the neighborhood. So like I used to meet them
Yes.
in the middle, and then I used to be like, "Hey guys, I did the 5K in 30 minutes." And
So good.
last year I did 3K in 30 minutes. But yeah, okay,
Yeah. With that, if you do the treadmill, it's easy because you can control your speed.
yeah, exactly,
It's like you put it on like X kilometers per hour,
yeah,
and you just stay at that speed. And you're
yeah,
like, I'm not gonna die. I just have to keep running at this speed. And you
yeah.
just run as long as you can at that speed. With running outside, it's harder because like you don't really know how fast you're going unless you're like checking your watch all the time.
That's true.
Um, with a treadmill, and a treadmill is technically like it's not real running because it like when you run outside, the ground doesn't move.
That is true.
You push into the ground. With a treadmill, as you're pushing into the ground is moving. So
Yeah,
it's actually kind of harder to run on a treadmill.
okay, that makes sense.
So,
I always feel like when
but
I run on treadmill for too long, like my calves and like feet, everything kind of hurt. I shouldn't start to hurt too.
you can't actually push into anything
That's
because there's
true.
not like the ground is moving as you run. It's weird.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Damn, I didn't
hey
know that.
dude,
So you can run more. You can run faster,
run
and that's better
faster
for you.
is
So you
better.
recover faster.
Yeah.
Okay,
So like
sick.
if you had like especially like an overweight person,
Yeah,
it's like, hey, I just want you they're obviously not gonna run that fast.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like, hey, I want you to run as long as they're not like have health concerns and like are gonna like die.
yeah,
Like I want you to run like as fast as you can if they're getting into running. Start with
yeah.
something else first, but like I want you to run as fast as you can
Okay, sick.
because like then like they're gonna be able to run longer and more frequently,
That makes sense.
right? So frequency is what we want in one of these things.
What if someone's doesn't have running in their program at all currently, or like they're not running? Start off with just once a week, twice a week. Anything recommendations wise, or
Uh, I would say like run 1K,
okay, that's it, right? Okay,
like
minimum
two
effective
like
dose. Yeah,
that's 2.5 times around a track.
sick. And then
It's not
like,
a lot.
and then walk some fit too, right? To get steps in,
Yeah.
right?
Like maybe go like walk run.
Yeah,
So like run a quarter of the track if you're actually on
yeah,
the track, run a quarter of the track,
yeah.
and then walk a third of the or like 2/3, 3/4 of the track,
Okay,
right? 75% of the track. And then
that
like
makes.
create that up. But like if you're just gonna straight run, like just start with 1K. Like how
That makes
because then you're going a little bit faster. And I think like
yeah.
the recovery demand is so much less.
Okay.
Like I have buddy ran one of my clients ran 8K the other day, but it was like his pace was like 7:20. So like
Okay.
he's running like he's like pretty fit, but like he's running like quite slow.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah,
like
yeah.
my shins hurt, man. Like it's affecting leg day. Like my ankles are so stiff. I was
Yeah.
like, all I want to do is run faster.
Yeah. Just run faster, bro.
Like, and he runs outside. So like
Okay.
running 8K that slow, it's like my shins would hurt too.
Yeah. Holy shit. Okay. That's probably why my shit, because I've been taking the slower approach, so I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna run faster and then walk a little bit, and then run fast, walk a little bit, and that's actually more
Yeah.
fun too, because you feel like I don't know you're doing work, right? So you
Yeah.
sweat a lot, and then you feel good, and then you sit in the sauna. Okay.
And like technically, like if we're doing it for like most people do this stuff for fat loss purposes as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you're doing it for fat loss purposes, assuming you're like moderately fed, the
Yeah.
faster you go, the more calories you burn.
That's true. Yeah.
So like if you can just work up to running for 5K
Yeah.
fast,
Yeah.
it's like that's a lot. Like imagine how much like someone goes on they're like, oh, I'm gonna do my cardio and then just like walk on an incline treadmill for 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As opposed to like you who's like has the treadmill on speed 12 and you're
Yeah.
running for 20 minutes.
Holy fuck.
Like that's
That's
gonna
wild.
compound over like X amount of days, right?
I'm gonna try this post leg day tomorrow and I'll report back. See how I feel.
Don't die.
This should be fun. Okay, so I know this has been a long podcast. That was a lot of knowledge. I'm not gonna summarize it because there was too many different topics. But basically, breathe more, less screen time, and it's gonna solve a lot of your problems, right?
Yes,
Any
pretty
other
much.
last words, last thoughts?
Not
Chilling.
really. See you next time.
See you
Rover
next.
science.
That's it, bro versus science. Oh yeah, this I think we said this in the start, right? This is bro versus science. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll be doing a bunch of series and we'll go through like specific body parts too. I think it'll be fun training different body parts. Or we can get into like, breathing, things like that. But yeah, I learned a lot. I actually took a bunch of notes, so I'm gonna apply some of this shit. So thank you, sir.
There you go.
Appreciate it. Hope you guys
Thank you.
enjoyed. Comment, subscribe, all the Gucci stuff, and that's it.